All right, Toby, why don't you tell us why there are two sphinxes? One in the beginning and a big one here.
So originally, when we first spec'd out the Egypt area, it was actually once you put the pieces into the obelisk, the doors open and it literally just revealed a room that had the Scion in it. But I was really disappointed with the way that the Sphinx had looked. So actually, on one weekend, I came in and built like the largest Sphinx I could possibly build, right? And it was so cool looking. Basically, we just added this. We added it in and turned it into the actual final part of the Egypt area. And part of what I think what I liked about it was the way that you approached it, because it would be very, I guess the obvious thing would be that you approach it from an angle whereby you can sort of see it from the front or see it from below and get a really good sense of the scale of it. But I wanted to actually come up onto it so that you didn't understand what you were standing on, so that you kind of, it took your mind a while as you walked around it to appreciate what you're actually standing on the back of the Sphinx. So you got that moment would happen when essentially it's hidden from you because of its scale
And the fog.
That's it, yes, and the fog. So after having modelled this gigantic Sphinx, I'm trying to turn it into a real level, because it hadn't actually been sort of like laid out originally. It was just sort of built as it went along. I ended up just essentially taking a bunch of my test rooms that really pushed Lara's movement to the max, that were basically exploited more interesting combinations of moves and whacked them in as these side rooms around the outside. So it didn't really make an enormous amount of fictional sense, but they were some more interesting sort of movement puzzles.
Yeah, and when we went to recreate them, I mean, the original one, essentially, one side was just sort of pushing a block through a wall, and sort of you had to figure out which way to push the block, and then the other room was themed around sort of sliding down and jumping at the right time onto this bridge.
Yeah, it was sliding direction.
Yeah, which worked really well for Tomb Raider 1, but it's very easy to do in Tomb Raider Anniversary. So we sort of completely changed the rooms and came up with a brand new puzzle involving the obelisks and the light, and sort of themed both the rooms similarly to sort of try to give the area sort of a theme.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Originally, what I was trying to do with this room was that after having built a gigantic Sphinx, I kind of come in another weekend and built even larger sitting down dudes, basically Horus and Osiris. And I thought it would be really cool if, because there's supposed to be actually a chamber, or there was rumours that there's a chamber between the actual front paws of the Sphinx in Egypt, and I thought that would be pretty cool to go, and that that's where you would expect your prize to be. But I wanted to do something a bit different, so I had this really tiny little hole that appears after you've finally opened up, done all the side rooms in the big Sphinx room, and then you just sort of go, I wonder what's going to be down there. But it was such a tiny hole, not a grand entrance at all, that you expected nothing much. And then you drop down it, and you literally dropped into a room with two statues that are even more vast than where you came from. And that sort of reveal of actually, and because it was water filled when you dropped in there, you kind of only really saw them when you dived underwater, and you essentially were flying around these massive statues. I thought was a pretty cool way to introduce them.
So this is one of sort of the more interesting changes that we made to Egypt, was moving the sanctuary of the Scion to the bottom of the level. In the original, you sort of came down and got this one key, and then you were able to go all the way back up to the top to the stairs, and then go into a little side room, and then the Scion was way up there. But we really wanted to sort of recreate this area as sort of a vault at the bottom of the entire sort of Egypt level, and part of that was us sort of making access into the very back, where you actually can get the third piece of the Scion, gated by the other two pieces of the Scion, almost like they were a key to that you needed before you could gain access to it. And this,
which makes more sense from a story point of view, basically.
Absolutely.